Oh, welcome again, always and again. May 22nd. So this is the first time after quite a few years of wondering that I actually know that this is the day that our little group, which included Lama Jacqueline, that's again. What's going always on? And again. Why is this?
You still have the YouTube open?
Okay.
May
22nd. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Quite a few years of wondering. How do I get rid of it?
You close the page, the YouTube is on.
That's our little group, which included Lama Jacqueline. I'm not.
Can you find the page with the YouTube video?
I'm not finding the page. Okay. Yeah, I'm so sorry. How do I get rid of it?
If you have all your tabs at the top, one of them should have a little speaker.
Okay, I think it's gone now. Thank you. Thank you so much. Sorry. Yeah. So, you know, you don't always know what a pivotal moment is when you're living it. It was certainly a very, very big moment in my life. I knew that immediately, but I certainly couldn't have foreseen anything really. And looking back now after 25 years, it feels very precious to, you know, just share some of this time with you and share some memories together. I'll start and with some slides, and then, you know, we just see where the conversation takes us. So this Tsog is in honor of our meeting Rinpoche. And some of you have met him in person, some of you not quite yet, but you have met him. Anyone who, you know, in all our participation together, you have definitely met him. And he has met you also, because he has that kind of cosmic embrace. And in around 1994, I just started feeling like I'd been to Tibet twice as a kind of lecturer for the Smithsonian tours, but you don't get to tell Smithsonian or anybody where to go. And I had seen from below Sami Chimpuk. And so around 1994, I think I just felt I really want to go on the Longchen Yingtik pilgrimage. Harvey and I had been, you know, practicing within Longchen Yingtik since the early 70s with Kesen Samba Rinpoche, with Lama Gompa Tseden, Namgyal Norba Rinpoche also held that lineage. We just felt really, really connected to it. And I just wanted to do that pilgrimage. Started thinking about it, mentioned it to my good friend Phyllis, who said, yeah, let's do it together. Okay. And once we put it out, Jacqueline called, so I'm coming. And the precariousness of things coming together is enormous, as we know in life. Things that happen almost didn't happen. And that was certainly true. And our trip, we planned it for 95, actually. And then people said, no, we can't go in 95. Okay, so we went in 96. And I knew that really the main place, two main places I wanted to go that I hadn't been before was Sami Chimpuk and Yeshe Tsogel Lhotso, so like Yeshe Tsogel. And a couple of people in our group, when we arrived in Lhasa, had altitude sickness and they weren't feeling well. And they were feeling very uneasy about going to Sami Chimpuk. And I couldn't find out, believe it or not. Annette is on. Oh, that's so wonderful. Hi, Annette was there too. Yay. I'm so glad you're here. And Susan, hi. I wrote Phyllis, but probably too late for her to fit it in. So maybe she'll show up. I don't know. Yay. Wonderful. Annette was there. And yeah, so Sami Chimpuk, we wanted to go to Sami Chimpuk. A few people in our group were sick. They didn't want to go anywhere that was going to be higher than we already were. And I spent much of the night walking through the Holiday Inn Lhasa, which is this cavernous, place. And anyone who I met that I could talk to, I said, do you know how high Samye Chimpuk? You'd think it would be on, I couldn't find out. I ran into Bob Thurman, who had just come back from Mount Kailash, and Laurie Anderson had almost died on that trip. And he said, you cannot go. If people aren't feeling well, you can't go anywhere. You can't risk anything. Oh my God. So I said to Phyllis, what are we going to do? Okay, 10 o'clock in the morning. It's now 2 or so in the morning. We'll tell the group that we can't go to Samye Chimpuk, and we can't, we just don't know enough to be sure that it's safe for everyone. We just can't do it. 8 o'clock in the morning, the phone rings, which never happens in a Lhasa hotel. The phone rings, and it's somebody, I'm not sure if he was calling Michelle. He wasn't calling me, but he got me. And he had just been to Tibet. So whatever he was calling about, I've forgotten, but I took the opportunity to say, do you know how high Samye Chimpuk is? He said, oh yeah, it's no problem. It's not that high. You'll camp, it'll be pretty low. It's no problem at all. So we were within about 90 minutes of canceling going to Samye Chimpuk. In retrospect, I don't know how he got my number. I never really traced it out, or if I did, I've forgotten. So by that thread, we got to Samye Chimpuk. And I mean, it was so exciting. Samye Chimpuk is the heart of the beginning of, the lineage. And Guru Rinpoche meditated there. King Sitong Tisong Detsen, our Adzem Rinpoche's former incarnation, meditated there. Jigme Lingpa, another former incarnation of our Adzem Rinpoche, meditated there. Longchen Rabcha meditated there. Yeshit Sogil was there. The 25 students of Guru Rinpoche, everybody was there. And since that time, too, people still to this day are meditating in those caves. And 200 of them came down singing to meet Adzom Rinpoche on the day that we waited to talk with him. We have that on what's it called, a VHS, so we have to prepare it so that we can share it with you, but we actually have a video of them coming down from the caves because they were taking teachings with Adzem Rinpoche at that time. We didn't know this, of course, until later, but they were streaming down every other day from the high caves. I'd say about 200 of them, yogis, real yogis, singing a beautiful Calling the Lama song, which is also on that tape. And he was teaching them Yeshe Lama. And there were, I don't know how many nuns camped nearby also, Tibetan nuns. And he was teaching them Ngondro, foundational practices. But we didn't know any of this. I didn't know who he was. Riding in the back of a truck, going up to Chimpuk from Samye, and I'll show you pictures shortly. Yeah, some of you heard me say, so there was a young nun with a button with someone's face on it, obviously a monk's face on it. And I didn't know that face. I said, who's that? She said, oh, he's a great Lama and he's here. You can meet him. Okay, we're down for that. So she told us where he was. And it turned out he was about 10 or 15 minutes above from where we ended up camping. We were camping. This is a camping trip. Yes, thank you. That's Rinpoche. It was a different button, actually. Was it that button that she was wearing? I don't know.
That's a pretty old button.
In any case.
With a mirror on them.
Yeah. So we're in the back of the truck, standing in the back of the truck. That's how you got to Samye, up from to Chimpuk, up from Samye. It's the mountain above, Samye, the first monastery of Tibet. So I asked her, and she told me, and I said, "Okay, obviously we're going to do this. We're on a pilgrimage. This great Lama here. We're going to meet him. We will try." And so we set up camp. It was wonderful. It was a meadow. Oh, it was just fantastic. And pristine snow still, I think, on the higher mountains. And we're so excited to be there. We had a crew, Tibetan crew, actually, to set up our tents and cook the food. And, you know, it was just fabulous. So we slept in our tents that night. And in the morning, we go up to see who we don't know, but someone, great Lama. We were all practitioners. Phyllis and I was a very small group, I think just 11. As it turned out, all women. No, it wasn't intended exclusively, but we were all women. And we were all practitioners. Phyllis had her own cohort, and then I invited some friends. And so we're just a very small group. And those of us on the Buddhist side had, I think most or many of us had done Ngondro, or were doing, you know, we already had a connection with the Longchen Nyingtik. And so we go up there, and lo and behold, he's there. It's a tiny, at that time, tiny like nuns kind of ashram. It's now become quite a big monastery for nuns. We've been there since in 2007. But it was just this is small, you'll see the little room that he's sitting in. It's kind of painted weird blue, and it's just very simple. And we all came into the room, and I remember it is a little bit dark. I'm not sure if that's true, but with light, of course, enough to see him. He's sitting on his bed the way Tibetans do, just a mountain of a human being. And we pretty much filled the little room, I think, as I remember anyway. You guys will share your memories shortly. And so we talked a little bit. Turned out he was a Lama, a Longchen Nyingtik Lama. Wow. He was very engaging. He was friendly. We didn't know he had hundreds of people waiting all around him to see him that day. He didn't act like that at all. He was completely welcoming, completely rapt, just like he kind of always is. And finally, of course, as some of you have heard more than once, you know, will you teach us? Maybe we all got up and bowed down, I'm not sure, but, you know, will you teach us? He said, oh, well, do you want me to teach you all together, or do you want me to teach you one-on-one? Wow, one-on-one. That's like mythical, one-on-one. One-on-one, please. Okay. So I think it was about then that whom we now know as Gurmit Sering started reading out all of his previous incarnations. The speech dimension of Manjushri, Trisong Daidzen, Ngai Pension, and he's been incarnating for a long time. Jigme Lingpa. How could we end up at Samye Chimpuk and meet Jigme Lingpa? Jigme Lingpa is the source, as you know, of the Longchen Nyingtik. He's also heart Dharma heir of Longchen Rabcham. Both of them did retreats, as I mentioned at Samye Chimpuk. Rinpoche has said Samye Chimpuk is like the most sacred place in Tibet. It's like the spring from which everything came.
Like Jerusalem.
Yeah, meeting St. Peter at Jerusalem. I don't know what to compare it with. And we had met Jigme Lingpa at Samye Chimpuk without any foreknowledge possible on our part. You know, so like what kind of great good fortune was descending? There had been a moment on our way to Samye Chimpuk. We stopped at outside Tsetang to view this cave sacred to Guru Rinpoche, high up, too high up for us to go. But we gazed at it with enormous feeling. And it was one of those spectacular, clear blue Tibetan skies, absolutely clear. And I was standing there with Michelle and with Gail. And then out of this absolutely clear blue sky, mist like started to gather. So I just watched it. And gradually, it starts to take the shape of an ah. And so then finally I grabbed my camera and I did catch it towards the end of it dissolving, but I did catch it. Michelle and Gail will tell you it was totally an ah in the middle of a clear blue sky. So afterwards, when we got to talk with Rinpoche. I mentioned this, and he said, "Oh, that was a sign that you were going to meet me." But I do remember thinking, seeing that, words run through your mind. I thought, oh, this is going to be an interesting trip. I personally was very emotional through that whole. We had been in China for a few days. We had been in Lhasa, and I was very emotional once we arrived in Tibet. I often am in Tibet. It's such a confluence of so wonderful and painful, and just crying all the time. Why am I crying all the time? It just felt like something was going on. So Rinpoche said he would do that. He would see us one-on-one. And he famously said, and this is really, I realize more and more in our own teaching, at Dawn Mountain and in life. And then he said, everyone's different. How could I teach you all at once? And, we try as much as possible to give people individual, attention sometimes. The way we inquire into your own experience, remind everyone that we're different. You don't have to be like anyone else in your practice. Some people with Semtri. That was really I realize now, a kind of, at that moment, I took it as just an incredible expression of generosity, and it's really, I'm realizing, kind of developed for me as a very profound instruction. Everybody is different. Of course, we meet together and share, but so, yeah. And he did meet us one by one, and we got to come back twice more. We were spending 3 nights at Samye Chimput, and he gave us a little homework like you do with Simchi. And so then we went back down to our tents and practiced, and we got to come back the next day and again, one by one, report whatever experience we had. And then he gave another instruction, perhaps as appropriate to different people. Michelle and I translated. I think Michelle mostly translated. I was doing the camera, but we were both together in the room with him. So I got to spend many hours with him at that time. And it just had an enormous impact. Every once in a while, he would just kind of look over and do things that he does sometimes when he just kind of looks, as some of you know. And I felt totally transfixed, transformed. I mean, I had no words. I've described it some in the past. I don't think I've ever really described it, but I knew it was something that never happened to me before. Yeah. And then, of course, we 3, especially from among that group, became his close students. Annette led at her church his Ngundro for many years, and Jacqueline founded Sundin Ling in Portland. We had already started Dawn Mountain, and now we kind of understood more about what we felt Dawn Mountain was about once we met him. And then he tried to come in 98. In about 97, I got a phone call and said, would you like to be Rinpoche's fundraiser in America? Oh my God. And then Harvey, who I had been, of course, telling what? Oh yeah. Anyway, so we were able to form a connection and have been able to maintain that connection. And in one way or another, although, it hasn't been always possible, but we certainly continue to feel the blessings coming. So maybe this is a good moment to have the Tsog, and I'll show you some slides and talk a little, invite you to offer what it's meant to you that we met Ajahn Rinpoche on that particular day. And 25 years is a long time. It's also a very short time. He is prophesied. I've read the prophecy myself. He showed it to me once. In Tibetan, he's prophesied to live a long, long time. So our Tsog is certainly partly, though very much a celebration that we got to meet him, that he's still around teaching, and may he live a long time. That's the prophecy, that he will have many, 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 many students. So in another 25, 50, 100, 200 years, you know, this will have been perhaps one small episode for him in his amazing sharing of the Dharma. And also, there probably won't be time for everyone to talk, but I invite you to, if you like, put on the chat, or if that's distracting, send me a statement that you would like to make, and I will collect them and keep them as a commemoration of this day. You don't have to write it today, but if you're moved, I think that would be a lovely thing to do. So is it a good time to have a Tsog? We'll do our actual Tsog. And in that space, some slides and more stories. And again, I'm so happy you're here. So this is Jigme Lingba's Tsog. There. Okay. Hope you have something nice prepared. He let me come to one of his teachings at Yeshe Lama because I had had it before. So I had the experience very shortly after meeting him of hearing him teach it in the kind of temple area, which was crammed. There was barely a space for me, but they made a space on the floor, you know, with all of the monks and nuns who, and that was when I started to understand what an amazing place he has in Tibet, in the Tibetan pantheon, as an embodiment of some of the most illustrious figures in the tradition, as profoundly, therefore, connected with the very place where we were, Sami Chimpuk, and also with Tsogye Lhotso, which is where he went afterwards. It's also where we went, but he went later. So just kind of celebrating all of that, Jigme Lingba's Tsog. We'll do it Tibetan English. Ramyam kam omahom zogse dyenye shero began zogse dagse rigzin lama tan den sunginganye el neshida kao ganda damche chojonam Dishik longche tokpa cheba she geltron dan tanzing nyam chak chak chinang parche chirgi ying sudro hakta shela tinne true parts Guru Deva Dakini Kana Sakra Putaho Utsita Balinda Kai Ramyam Kam Oma Hom Wisdom play adorned by feasty lights. Feast lights. You want to turn on your unmute for a moment? I don't know how it'll sound, but symbolically it's wonderful for us to sing it together. That's my personal view. If you don't like it, turn off the sound. I'll start again. Ramyam Kam Oma Hom Wisdom play adorned by feasty lights.
Guru Deva
Guru Deva Zaki, Kanataka Puto, Utsita Balinda Oh. Ladies, start with your wine or juice if you have it, and gentlemen with the solid food. I hope you have something good. Okay. What about is this for her? Should I give this to her? To all the deities, inside and out. Om Yaho Mahasukha Siddhi Alala. 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 Yaho Mahasukha Siddhi Alala. Om Yaho Mahasukha Siddhi Alala. Om Yaho Mahasukha Siddhi Alala. Yaho Mahasukha Siddhi Alala. Mahasukha Siddhi Alala. Om Yaho 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 Mahasukha Siddhi Alala. Yaho Mahasukha Siddhi Alala. Om Yaho Mahasukha Siddhi Alala. Yaho Mahasukha Siddhi Alala. Om Yaho Mahasukha Siddhi Alala. The deities are, and all the altars being served right now. All right then. This is lost connection. Why is that? I was. It disconnected. I'll go back. Oh, no. Okay. So a few images from that time. A couple of us have seen Rinpoche at other times in Tibet. Tremendous blessings. Maybe another time you might feel to say something about that. You know, there are lots of stories. Today is really, at least what I want to show has to do with that day and that trip. Let's see. Is this? Okay. Can you see it? Can you see the image?
We see it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So Samye Chimpok. Samye Chimpok is here. Samye Monastery, the first monastery of Tibet, is here. And the caves are up here. I think Rinpoche, we met
That's that letter
Rinpoche.
home that you're showing, actually.
That's you think it's at the bottom of the home?
No, I mean, that's that letter.
I know. So this, Tibetans say, I'm going to make this a full screen share. This looks more or less like a Tibetan home. And it is said that Guru Rinpoche himself placed that hung there. There's a stream that came up. Many miracles happen in this place. There are footprints of Guru Rinpoche. It's an astonishing place. This is not a full tour of it. Just to say, this is what you see as you cross over the water. Actually, now there's a bridge you can drive. But in those days, you took a coracle boat over the river to get to Samye Chimpok. And so this was the heart's desire to go up. Samye is kind of back here, low, right down by the river. to come up here to Samye Chimpuk. And this is Hepore. These are places where great treasures have been revealed over the centuries. And this, I think, is the nunnery where we met Rinpoche. This might be a later picture. I'm honestly not sure, but this is where we were. I think we camped around here and, you know, it was exquisite. This is the sister of one of Rinpoche's very close students, Thupten Dorje. Some of you met him on one of our trips. And she was taking us around. This was actually in 2007. She took Harvey and I around to some, and this is some sacred thing. I never understood exactly what, outside the cave of Jigme Lingpa. So the place is full of caves where people have meditated for years. This is a picture from Jacqueline, one of our first sites of Rinpoche. I think this might have been the day we left, but there he was, 25 years old, seeming about 500 years old, and also, you know, primordially youthful. This is the outside of the little room inside which we met him. This is part of our group. This is Michelle, Jacqueline, and not everybody shows here. Belita, who's also from Houston. Yeah, I think this was the last day. You know, we said goodbye pictures. And this was me after talking with him for a few hours. You can see the room. This was the room where we met. Just feeling, we must have been saying goodbye then, or else we had just met because I have a kata around my neck. So since we've been doing Yeshe Tsogel today, and we went to the Yeshe Tsogel Lhotso after we left Samye Chimpuk, and Rinpoche also did some weeks later. And it's, as you can see, a very dry area. And as you go in from the river, you have to take some kind of transportation, or it's a long walk. And I couldn't help but be struck that there was this heart-shaped, you know, formation on the side of the mountain. And that seemed auspicious. Really dry in this high desert, really. And I point this out because Yeshe Tsogel's place is an oasis. This is it from a distance. You can see everything here is dry. Here there's a little grass. And this is where the Tso, the lake, springs up at her birth. And it's still there. And it's keeping this place green. And this is the famous Tso, her soul lake. Another version of this picture. Yeah, we all filed in, and just without any kind of plan, everyone kind of found her seat, and we just sat there for a while. So coming here with our hearts and minds, you know, full of Rinpoche, knowing at some deep level that we had met the heart of the Longchen Nyingtik, and more than that, Guru Rinpoche, you know, Vimala Mitra, these are all embodied in Rinpoche. They all were at Samye Chimpuk, and now we were going to Yeshe Tsogel's place. This is the house where she was born, who really planted all the tear in Rinpoche's mind, the practices that we're doing right now, including Yeshe Tsogel. Just a few other images about Rinpoche. This is his monastery, against Samdin, and he, you know, they do this big Amitabha festival there every year. And at one of those festivals, this appeared, someone sent me this picture, what looked like a peacock, the peacock who holds the throne of Amitabha. It's just to say how all of these really central lines of, you know, Tibetan history and lineage and prophecy all converge really on in Rinpoche and in the practices that he shares with us. This also a picture you may have seen before of him teaching Poa, connected with Amitabha, a very, very extraordinary teacher that he is of Poa. And at this particular moment, this purple rainbow, he taught it for 7 days at Shai Hlakang. That's a whole other story. The second great monastery of Tibet. And this purple rainbow appeared right there in the crowd. And also everyone, and this has always been true when Rinpoche taught Poa, oops, that's not, I thought it was a different, everyone gets a stalk in their head because he's that powerful. Then I also wanted to show you, this is from another time. This is 2007, Jetsama with their father in Lhasa at a little cafe above the Potala, drinking Chinese Coca-Cola. Just a sweet moment with the family. A famous picture of Rinpoche. This is at his monastery, I believe. Rainbows seem to form around him, not infrequently. Or he forms around rainbows, I don't know. And just another sweet picture, Rinpoche and Jetsama. They're very, very close, brother and sister. She herself is an emanation of Tara, who, as you know, is very connected with the Geshe Tsogel. I've gotten out of taxis in China, and the taxi driver will address her as Tara Lama. So this is a famous picture that is, just to give you another sense, you know, it took us a long time, and I would say that we are still learning who Rinpoche really is, was, is, and will be. He was famous already when we met him for having, can't see it too well, inserted a staff into the rock behind his monastery. And there was a ceremony that preceded that somehow we had, somebody sent us some video of, which we'll try to make into something that we can show. So it's a very, you know, moment of him showing his capacity and the ways of old, of miracles. There are footprints in Tibet, headprint at Terdrome, handprints that we have seen, you've seen pictures of. Those are stories for another day, but this is something that tells us more about who he is. And this famous picture gives you this place. This is at his monastery. And this is the place where the copper-colored mountain that is the ethereal home of Guru Rinpoche meets this planet, it is said. That is why Rinpoche created his monastery there. Guru Rinpoche and Geshe Tsogel spent much time here. Amazing things have occurred in these rocks. And I'm not sure exactly. I think where he put the rock, the staff in, it's somewhere. Whoops. It's somewhere here. What happened? It's one of the many amazing things that has occurred. And then a friendly picture to all of us get a chance to look into his eyes for a moment. This is more recently. So, yeah, so we are blessed by great fortune. We found out later that if we had gone in 1995, we would have included another place, Terdrome, on our itinerary. And I found out some years later that he actually was at Terdrome in 1995. It felt like, oh, you know, we were going to meet. Lama Tsultrim told me, I never heard this from him, and I don't really know, but she told me that he told her, or he told someone that, you know, when you're a Tertern, there's a moment, a very important in your life, in time in your life as a Tertern. I'll stop the share for now. Is when you receive what's called a kajang. It's the list of tear that you will be revealing in your lifetime. And apparently he had received it shortly before we all met him, which has to be some kind of, you know, auspiciousness for our connecting with his tear, which we are doing. So, yeah, please. I guess I'll ask Jacqueline and Annette, since you were there, if you'd like to say a few words. And we I have time. If you can stay, if you find that you have to leave, please dedicate before you leave. Okay. We will complete our dedication. We'd love to hear from you. Go ahead.
I would be happy to share if now is my time to do so.
Well, I guess it is. I don't know.
Okay.
You feel-
So first of all, this is the picture of the stick in the rock. I don't know if
Oh,
you.
yeah, that's a much better picture. Thank you. I couldn't get a hold of it. Yeah.
And as I was, I had to take apart a frame, and then his card popped out. I had my own terma here. And what I want to share is Rizindroma was really describing the mystery of it all, of who are we meeting, and seeing the button as we were crossing over the Yarlung Sangpo River to go on our way to Samye Chimpuk. And then when we met him, it was Rizindroma who had the presence of mind when he asked if we wanted us to learn from him as a group or individually, and she just immediately said individually. So great, gracious kadoos, and always grateful for that. And I think I was one of the first people to receive the Simchi, and I really wasn't sure what that would be like. I thought he would be giving me instructions. But what happened, I had Anne was on my left, Michelle was on my right. And of course, he's on a very high platform bed, and I'm on the floor. And I think the floor was either rock or some kind of cement. And he looked at me, and he started telling me who I was and what my mind was like. And I was like, oh my goodness. And then immediately Michelle and Anne began to speak to him in Tibetan. And the only word I remember hearing was lama, because of course at that time, I'd been teaching meditation for a very long time. And so that alerted me that this was somebody who was more than giving us questions and answers and direction. It was somebody who could really see into my mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Do you want to say anything, Annette?
Well, like many times, most of the time when I'm in Rinpoche's presence, I really have no words.
Exactly.
But I could say that having grown up Christian, had such a Christian background that my cultural images were Christian. The person I met on that is interesting that Harvey would bring up Jerusalem, because the person that I met on that mountain was Jesus, teaching the thousands upon the mountain, around the mountain, going to the Jokong Temple, and finding myself in Jerusalem with the crippled people and the people seeking alms around and healing there. And I think that if I say one thing shortly about Rinpoche and my having met him and being so blessed, is to realize that Dharma has many faces, and that Dharma indeed has a global has a transcendent connection in my life, and through Rinpoche, learning that the Dharma will teach me wherever I find myself and whatever I'm doing, so I'm forever grateful. And I can also bear witness to the fact that through that entire trip, you were in a trance. And it was indeed the Dharma that brought us home safely.
It was the what?
I said, it was indeed the Dharma that brought us home safely.
Yeah, indeed. That's so beautiful.
Thank you so much for organizing the trip, and for I feel so blessed and forever blessed for being included in that trip, and for being included in his many of his retreats that were done here and at Dawn Mountain and Taramandala, and the Yeshe Lama month that we spent and with him, and was I mean it's beyond words. And I also learned what it means for words to become flesh in listening to his teachings and experiencing his words going into my body and enlivening my body and enlightening it. And I mean, there's no end to things to say, but I will end and with just a really note of gratitude and a fullness of heart of celebrating this anniversary. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Annette. I am so glad that you were there and for all of the things that you have done since then. Yeah. Well, anyone else? You have also met Rinpoche one way or another. I will say that while you're thinking and getting brave, that moment when he said, "Should I teach all of you at once or one by one?" I took a deep breath. I thought I was really imposing on him already. You know, here we are. Will you teach us is already quite a request. And there was a moment there, honestly, where I thought, well, I shouldn't really. But then another moment came in and no, how could we say no? He offered, there's no way we're going to grab it. So it wasn't quite as smooth as it might have looked like.
Can I say something?
Please, who's that?
Kristen Villamore.
Yes, hi.
Because
hi.
with Mokatov around 1998, that time when you brought Rinpoche to New York City and several times, I just want to say the hook of compassion, how auspicious, because at that time I was not a believer. I just wanted to get married and dabble a little bit in Dharma, even though I knew the gurus were living Buddhas from another planet. They seemed like my family. And going to John Journo's, and then of course helping to host and providing, sponsoring some meals, but more importantly, finding myself hosting Rinpoche's Vajrakalaya at 99th and Riverside, where I was staying at Saul Bronze. And like, it wasn't like I was really so into it, but somehow I was doing it in weekends and people would come. But also Rinpoche, I feel it's unbelievable because I want to thank him so much, because when he met me, maybe after the second trip, he handed me a nun's robe, a skirt, and I've kept it. I have never worn it except once. And I think he foresaw what my path was going to be. And I was still not a believer, and still like that. Everybody said he was a living Buddha, but still somebody with obscurations. And then, of course, getting the Zen from Texas, from you, and then still not a believer, but now I am a believer. And I just can't even say all the different paths that we take, even though it might be on the periphery. I'm not so closely connected with Dawn Mountain, but I have my other paths in the Dharma. How I truly do believe everything about Rinpoche and the auspiciousness of it, and you, and also I have my connection with Michelle Martin and Phyllis. So it's just unbelievable, the Sangha and the tendril. And now I just want to cry when I think that when I saw Rinpoche in person, I was like a non-believer. And now, without his physical presence, I am a believer. And of course, want to apologize about my behavior.
Oh,
Even though I was in his presence and he was giving me so much, and his sister, etc., but not able to be on the same page as like now. If I would see him, it would be a totally different relationship that I would have with him. But I guess that is the love and the hook of compassion of the Buddha. So I feel like so fortunate, and that's enough, but so grateful that I guess he saw things or what might transpire later.
So thank you. That's so beautiful, Chris. And I remember you then, and I certainly didn't. You looked like you were paying 1,000% attention. You know, maybe you just didn't know you were a believer. And, you know, if you're so inclined, you wear those robes. I'm wearing now robes that he gave me. You know, they're blessed. He told us they were blessed in front of the Jokan.
Well, now I feel brave enough.
Permission. You have permission to
Thank
wear
you
them.
so much.
Please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's lovely you're here. And your legacy continues in New York with the Purba Group, you know, and now Stephanie is continuing. I mean, what you held is still holding.
I can say something.
Okay.
Well, I've thinking of Rinpoche, or it's just like the meeting him was just totally overwhelmed by splendor feeling. And so I met Rinpoche pretty late. I think it was in 2005 or so. I'm not so in Creston. And he told me, well, you're my student. And there was so much ease about it. And I felt, wow, the first time I can do this. I can do this. Before I always felt I got a lot in trouble when I met, masters that I have no doubt are enlightened beings, but I couldn't do what they said. So the first time I can do this. There's so much ease, and Rinpoche never would ask me anything that wasn't completely joyous and with ease. And then Lama Sultram took us to Tibet. I jumped on with some Lama Sultram's group to go to Tibet. I believe it was 2007,
Yeah.
and then it was right.
Yeah.
Then we went to Chimpu also, and I have this. This is the only place I have so clear still in my mind. And then we met you there, and we had to pretend not to know you. This was so hard.
That's crazy.
And I, we kind of like, I want to. And we also camped out there with the whole group. It was quite a big group. Probably at the same place you camped, at this campground in the valley.
Yeah.
And then we went up there 2 by 2, I think, and to this also sitting in the cave, I think Chikmelingpas or Longchenpas, and I sat in that cave and looking outward. Everyone was looking inward to the temple. And then the people told me, no, don't look this way. You have to look this, to the temple, to the image. And then the person who took us said, no, it's okay. She can look there. It's like Longchenpa or Chikmelingpa meditated. Right. And anyway, then we got to go to this monastery and to this room where Rinpoche was, 2 by 2. And I remember this room to be like a very big room, and it was kind of dark, but it was always also light. And I felt like, wow, now I feel like this was a copper-colored mountain we were in, actually. And then Rinpoche gave an empowerment there, and it was just like all totally, definitely not in this world.
Yeah. Thank you. That's so true. Yeah. Bye, Rose. Glad you're here. We had said we would close at 11:45. I don't know. So
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lamas.
Thank you. Anyone else just quickly, if that's okay with Emily?
Susan's got her hand up.
Susan.
I
Hi.
think Stephanie had her hand up.
Okay, Stephanie. I couldn't tell if Robert wanted to talk earlier. He was on another trip. Yeah.
I'll just say this briefly. I was with Annette when she went on this extraordinary trip and had the benefit of her sharing immediately thereafter, which was just beyond words. She said, I could tell the effect on her, I could experience the effect on her. And then joining the meditation group, which she began in Miami, which to this day, you may not know, still meets via Zoom.
Oh.
The core group that started then is still
Tashi Ling.
Yes.
Tashi Ling. Oh.
Yeah. So, but when I met him in person was September the 12th, 2001.
Yeah.
The day after 9/11, because he had been, no, it was on 9/11. I met him on, I guess, the evening.
We got there on the 10th. We got there on the 10th with you.
The 10th, correct.
Yeah. And the next morning. Yeah.
Next morning was 9/11. And that was just extraordinary. I mean, to meet him and then to be present with him when all of that was happening and how he experienced it, and I couldn't experience it without thinking about his experiences from Tibet and what all he had been through and all he had experienced. And it just put a whole different perspective on it for me. To think about that, and then he stayed. He was supposed to stay a couple of days, 2 or 3 days. He was there for a week because he wasn't going to travel by.
Y'all were there too.
Yeah,
we couldn't travel.
Couldn't travel. Well, he wouldn't go by land across a bridge. You remember,
Really?
he wouldn't do it. I mean, he because of his experiences, and but he was just so kind and gracious, and we had a service, and it was very, very powerful to have that time with you all and with him, and I'll never forget it. And then
Annette, go ahead.
Continue to benefit from the teachings of the Dharma. So,
how sweet. Yeah, Annette conducted a service for your church, and we came. He came. We sat in the front row.
He had a Christian soak.
Yeah, preach and soak.
Some people call it communion.
He did. I mean,
He did,
really.
yeah.
That was great.
I think Stephanie had her hand up.
Stephanie.
Maybe Robert. I don't know.
Stephen, I can't tell if Robert's fixing to talk or not, but we'll find out. Right, Stephanie.
Hi. Thank you for this beautiful time together and these stories. And, I must have moved my hand. It looked like I had my hand up, but I had my heart is just so open and touched to hear all the stories. And, I've never met Rinpoche in person, but in 2008, when I met Serbi, who's sitting in my yard, everything changed. I started having dreams about this Lama, and I couldn't explain it. I couldn't understand why. He was telling me he was my teacher. And even one time, I don't even speak Italian at home, but was speaking Italian and kissed me on both cheeks. And I just said, wow, this Lama just keeps showing up. And ever since then, since 2008, I've had this connection that has changed my life completely. And I've always felt a connection and oneness with Rinpoche, and in the last few years, really like family has just blossomed in the Purba Sangha, and of course with both of you, lamas. So I am just so grateful, and I feel Rinpoche's presence in my heart right now and always, and I'm so grateful to all of the students and here, family, I should say, friends. So blessed and so grateful.
And we for you, Stephanie Lau.
Inspiring.
Chinyuamo.
Robert, did you want to say something?
We're glad for you in any case. You have done so much. Well, it does feel very full to be together. All of the many of the seeds that Rinpoche planted are blossoming. I almost showed, and now I can't find it quickly, a wonderful picture of the sign outside Annette's church at that time. It says Methodist Church. And then in the, how you can change letters on church signs, it says Dzogchen from Tibet. And we have a picture of Rinpoche standing in front of that. So clearly he's here. Things are continuing. I'm seeing old friends. Lori, hi. Of course, we plan on continuing meeting him in our own hearts and minds and together as much as possible. The Yeshe Tsog practice group, I think you all know. Please let Julia know if you'd like to be part of it. Second and fourth Sundays. Hey, Lori. Also part of many Adzam Rinpoche events, and we go back further than that. Happy to see folks from Europe there. We pray that, meeting again will be possible. Touched to see you here, Simon. We're all part of the family. And please do, if you have it in your heart to write something, send it to me. I will keep it. I don't know if this got recorded or not. I meant for it, actually, I was hoping it would. But Kwang's been around since the beginning, right? So we're all connected in more ways than we know. And may we continue to discover all the profundities involved in these connections. There are many. Unless somebody has a word, I think we'll close.
I just want to thank Uridzandroma for her being so brave. You have no idea. From an idea in her mind to forming a pilgrimage, to the gathering, to making decisions, to following her intuition, to her open-heartedness and including us. So many thank yous. Thank you.
Ajay, thank you too. Thank you too. And Surabhi had a hand up, I think. And then we'll close and we'll continue. Think for next year what you want to say. You have time now. Yes, Surabhi. You're still muted, dear. Yeah.
First of all, I wanted to tell Kristen how amazing she was in when she was saying that she was not receptive. She walked up to me at when I was a brand new practitioner, and she said, "If you ever need a place to stay, my door is always open to you." So this is who Kristen really is. That's one thing I wanted to say. And the other thing is that I did go to Samye, I did go to Yeshe Latso, but it was through dreams that Rinpoche still communicates with us. So one night I had a dream, and there was nectar dripping from a cave, and he said, Rinpoche said to me, "You need to drink my nectar." When I woke up, I got another message, "Get your passport ready." And then I found myself within a few months in Tibet. I knew I was going to go to Drakyonzo, which was the crystal cave. I was terrified of the stories I heard of getting into that cave. But that morning when I woke up in Samye, I felt this red light. And from that moment on, I followed this red light. When I finally walked up to the cave, I was led to different adventures before I got in. And then Rinpoche's nuns were waiting inside, and they grabbed me and they took me in first into the special room. And when I got in there, they said, "You need to drink this nectar."
Oh.
They put a bowl from something from the ceiling. They took the bowl, they put it in my hands, and they said, "No one else can get this but someone who can fit through the hole to get in this room." And as I was sipping it, I looked at the shrine in the room, and it was Rinpoche's picture. Rinpoche's picture was there smiling at me. And then when I spent a long time in that cave because the guides had all left and they didn't know I was still in there. So as I was coming down from on the ladder, all of a sudden my camera turned on, and there was a picture that I had taken of Rinpoche years before, smiling at me to let me know, you know, my nuns are going to take care of you for this entire trip. So I actually got to be hosted by his nuns in Samyo Chimpo in their temple, staying overnight. They were, it was just and then when I finally came out of all the caves on my birthday, two nuns took us to their home, and they served us all the food that they had. And it was just, Rinpoche takes care of us all. We are never, ever separated from him, even for a moment. And now it's really opening up even more inwardly. So none of us have not had an adventure with Rinpoche in Tibet. We're all with him.
Thank you, Surabhi.
I'll share just two short things there, and then we can conclude. I have two short things. Everybody's talking about Samye, and we were in 2007 in Samye Chimpuk, and it was an enormous blessing. And so the two stories, I mean, they're very brief. I mean, one was the night before the 15th of Sagadawa is, the most holy day. We were in this funky room with this funky light bulb. I mean, really, really primitive light bulb, and very, very hard to see Rinpoche, but he managed to create some time to give me personal instruction. And I was having an enormous amount of difficulty with the elevation there. Really, really challenging for me. But he gave me some instructions, and the next morning I was able to go out and meditate, and I was sitting opposite from that hung, meditating, and it was the 15th, it was Sagadawa, we were in Samye Chimpuk. It just was like, what a blessing to get, instructions from one's teacher in this holy place, be able to meditate on the occasion of Buddha's birth, enlightenment, and parinirvana. It was such a blessing. The other was we were in China once, and I think we were hoping and planning to see Rinpoche, but it just couldn't happen. And so we were in this hotel, and we made an arrangement for a phone call. And even in this modern world, you know, at least at that time, they didn't have phone service to the temple. And it's just a mark of Rinpoche's really dedication to his students and his compassion for his students. He traveled for about 2 hours to get to a place which, from our impression, was a high place and a windy place, but it was a place where there was actually phone reception. And he spent a good deal of time on a cell phone. And our Tibetan is okay, but you know, on a cell phone, Tibetan, you're not seeing somebody's face.
The wind.
There was wind. It was challenging, but he gave us some teachings that were relevant for us to teach others. And it was just, you know, he's a very, very, very busy person. And for him to take 2 hours to travel one way to get on the top of some mountain in windswept Tibet, you know, talking into a cell phone to give instructions. It was just, and I've seen that more than once. He is the Dharma. I mean, he is the Dharma embodied. It's just every cell of his body is dedicated to teaching and helping, and it's so touching, inspiring. I just wanted to share that.
It was incredible to talk to him on the phone. Jason-ma was with us in the room to help with the conversation. He was actually giving us further instructions on the Yeshe Tsogel practice. And we went there in order to have that phone call, because actually my memory is we knew we weren't going to be able to see him. But we were going to teach Yeshe Tsogel practice, and we had some questions. And he was just so there. And a couple of days later, we had another multi-hour phone call with him, which he also had to travel to. That's his dedication to us, you know. It's really typical of the kind of thing that he does. So may his activities, may all of our practice, all of our Dharma dreams and our connections with each other and the whole Sangha deeply flourish.
Serbi, you're a spiritual midwife.
No kidding.
Official. You're a licensed spiritual midwife.
So we should close with our hearty long life prayers. And okay. In the practice text, if you have that, it starts on page 47. I think you all know them. In a pure land ringed by snow mountain, source of bliss and benefit for all, powerful Tenzin Gyatso Chenrei Z, lotus feet, please stay hundreds of years. Fill vast space with your activities. That's your Rinpoche's prayer in Tibetan for once he could be listening. Om Swasti Lume Japne Jatso De Jinji Dender Gombong Jinjen Jije Jorme Jabden Jatso Bel Sango Shabe Denchik Jenja Gun Kiab Sho Om Swasti Rapcham Galwe Gungi Dendoki Jason Doma Namchol Chime Wang Towe Chigor Shirab Chiso Shok Shabe Denchi Zenting Gun Kyab Sho. Should we just go do the recitation after dedication? Yeah. But then we do it. Okay. We'll do the recitation after dedication, and then we'll do Ekasati. Things, sounds, minds are God's mantras, sheer form. Buddha forms wisdom in endless play. Through this profound and secret practice, be one with the one taste heart to glay. And Ekadzati, our protectress, may she protect everything and everyone that we hold so dear. Precious things are fragile in this world. We need protection. We need protection. Oh. Hong Beldenika Zadidan, Kansu Kepchik Rahula, Tanjin Darja Leka So, Niki Yemba Dancing So, Kansedi Se Dorma Pol, Nelja Dakla Gunko Cho, So I didn't lay my out of Hong Beldenika Zadidan, Kansu Kepchik Rahula, Tanjin Darja Leka So, Niki Yemba Dancing So, Kansedi Se Dorma Pol, Nelja Dakla Gunko Cho, So I didn't lay my out of Hong Beldenika Zadidan, Kansu Kepchik Rahula, Tanjin Darja Leka So, Niki Yemba Dancing So, Tanzi DC Dharma Pol, Nelja Dakla Gungo Cho, Choe Tinle Mayaldo, Hong Glorious Eka Satyan, Rishi Vishnu Rahula, Othan Dorje Leka, all hardest since guardian host, take this torment and nectar, guard this yogi, give refuge, keep your trust, your deeds alive. Hong Belden Eka Sati Dong, Transfer Kepchik Rahula, Tanjin Dorje Leka So, Niki Yemba Dancing So, Tanzi DC Dharma Pol, Nelja Dakla Gungo Cho, Choe Tinle Mayaldo, Hong Belden Eka Sati Dong, Transfer Kepchik Rahula, Tanjin Dorje Leka So, Niki Yemba Dancing So, Tanzi DC Dharma Pol, Nelja Dakla Gungo Cho, Choe Tinle Mayaldo, Hong Belden Eka Sati Dong, Transfer Kepchik Rahula, Tanjin Dorje Leka So, Niki Yemba Dancing So, Tanzi DC Dharma Pol, Nelja Dakla Gungo Cho, Choe Tinle Mayaldo. Yeah, Daniel wants you dollar Gilbert Chase on the Simpson Noble Dr. Cell about the Simpson Court on Jebala, so wait, he, Lord of all things, winning warrior, world's great lion, a jewel who tames foes, and the 30 brave heroes with you we pray offer, please to your sworn deeds. Hong Bell Gig, Daniel wants you dollar Gilbert Chase on the Simpson Noble Dr. Cell, Bella Simpson Court, Jebala, solo Chewe, Chinley, so. And we'll offer prayers for everyone, and just everyone just speak the name of those people near and dear to you. I don't think we have a prayer list online. We'll all just come straight from our hearts. With all of you in mind, we light this lamp of clarity. May the glow of love, wisdom shine within us, everyone, till we all rise forth born in one enlightened mandala. Okay. Deborah, Yusuri, Morton, Sharon, her family, Halo, Annalise, Jay, Ken O'Neill, all our teachers, everyone. Don Mountain. Should we do the faithful, and the Faithful Students song, which is also actually a tear from Rinpoche when he was performing really the great miracle of reconsecrating or beginning to rebuild Shari Lakang. Another set of stories. Some of us have been there too. If you're game, unmute and sing it together, whatever it sounds like. You don't want to hear everybody. I, as precious regions from the in my heart, steamy with compassion. I have no other hope. This you
and body, impermanence besets. Do you not fear your death, good and faithful student? The bright stars gather and knows when heartily think of death, good and faithful student. Karma never deceives, so give up wrongful thoughts. Engage Dharma holy, good and faithful student. This false world will deceive. Be free of attachment. Pursue liberation, good and faithful student. Your mind not too pointed, with unchanging faithful love. Lama walks with Loma, good and faithful student. Jerme to Chenjatso, when heart holds a Lama, there's no better guidance. Keep heart talk in your heart. Aho la la ho, pleasing place on thy altar. Aho la ho, pleasing place on thy altar.
Allah. And our awe for each other, for everyone, the whole of Rinpoche's world full of students. May your community grow, may our practice deepen. Whatever your heart wish is, send it out for everyone. With your
No one can hear you.
Lots of love to you all. Be well. May we meet again and again in this life and many forward until full, complete enlightenment everywhere. So thank you so much, Emily. Thank you. A lot of time. Thank you very much. Thank you, Gary, for all the years that flower into making these kinds of things possible. Thank you, everyone. What a lovely group you are.
Thank you, Lamas. It was wonderful.
It was. We didn't have much forewarning, so kind of one of those spontaneous things. And thank you for making time for it and sharing it. Wonderful to be together.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Be well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep your practice alive.